Hello and welcome to another episode of Cascadia Mountain Weather. It's Thursday, November 6th, and we're starting to see a bit of a snowpack building and a nice weekend coming up. So, Wyatt's going to go over the weekend weather first.
Yeah, so first we're going to take a look at the last 72 hours, which, if you have been in the city in Seattle, if you've been in the lowlands, if you've been out to the coast, you might have noticed that it's been kind of stormy and kind of interesting. We had a waterspout and maybe even a weak tornado that came ashore down in southwest Washington yesterday on Wednesday. We've had some extremely heavy rain bands that have been moving throughout the area, and this is looking at the last 72 hours of rainfall. And so what you can see here is in kind of Seattle area, we've seen 1 to 2 inches of rain. Um, Pretty heavy rainfall for kind of any time of year, not like crazy, but definitely been stormy. In the mountains up in the Olympics, we've seen 8 to 9 inches. In the Cascades, we've seen anywhere from kind of 3 to 6 inches. So this is total precipitation, some of it falling as snow, but really mostly falling as rain. You can see that it's even extended out to the east side a little bit, although definitely not heavy rainfall over there. If we look at the weekend coming up, we have actually something interesting for November, which looks like sun and kind of shockingly warm temperatures. So this is looking just giving a broad overview of the Pacific Northwest in the next couple of days. This is looking at kind of Friday morning, so this is 10 a.m. Friday, and we can see some showers hanging around the Cascades. We'll go into details in this a little bit, but really I wanted to bring up this map because as we move through Saturday morning, overnight Friday into Saturday, we see that there is very little precipitation in the entire state. The entire state should be dry, almost kind of like a summer weekend. But what you can see over on the left-hand side here out west is a low that is moving up the coast. And this is actually going to lead to some interesting, some unique weather. And we'll get to that in a second. But I want to highlight how we stay dry. This is looking through kind of overnight Saturday night and even into Sunday night. We should stay dry before the next kind of weak front comes through on the early morning hours on Monday. So this is looking at our 850 temperature anomaly. So we'll get up to our current moment, which is right here. So this is 850 millibar. And this is looking in degrees Celsius. Basically, this is your 5,000 foot level. Now we can see that as we move through Friday and as we move through kind of the moments right now, which is Thursday night, we can see that temperatures are a little bit below normal and we're seeing the snow levels start to drop. We'll look at that a little bit in a second as well. But as this storm moves up off the coast, it's a little bit out of frame right here. It is actually going to bring this kind of warm finger of above normal temperatures at that 5,000 foot level. And they're going to be pretty significantly warm, I would say. I mean, if we look here kind of in the 12 to 14 degrees Celsius above normal, so close to 20 degrees above Fahrenheit above normal. And that's pretty unusual for this time of year. We see this every so often with the upper levels being pretty warm. But we are getting into the time frame where normally in November this might lead to an inversion setup where it's cold down at the surface and warm up above. But what is happening this time is with that storm offshore, it's actually just close enough that it's going to allow some offshore flow and really some downsloping winds to come in from the east side and kind of move through the gaps and move down the mountains. And generally when wind comes, kind of moves down slope, goes to lower elevations, it compresses and it warms. So this is going to lead to some kind of unseasonably warm temperatures. If we look at what the mountains, this is looking up at Washington Pass. We can see that both Saturday and Sunday are looking pretty warm. This is for 4 to 5,000 feet. And temperatures are going to be in the upper 30s to low 40s. But we can actually scroll down to the foothills as well. And so we'll look at North Bend and we'll see that temperatures forecast for North Bend. So normally what might be kind of in the mid 50s this time of year is going to be in the mid 60s and maybe even I wouldn't be surprised if we see some low 70s coming on Sunday. So it's going to be honestly a beautiful weekend, very very unusual for November. But that means will be a great opportunity to get out. I'll take a quick glance at like what it's going to be doing up above us as well. We've already looked at the temperatures in the high elevations, but we'll look at the clouds as well. So this is looking at overnight Thursday night into Friday night, and you can see that there's some clouds hanging around. But once we get into Saturday morning, so this is 7 a.m., and especially by early afternoon on Saturday, we are pretty clear throughout the whole state. Now, it does appear that we might have some higher clouds moving through at times that might lead to some nice sunsets or sunrises, but we really don't see the next kind of thicker, heavier clouds move in the morning on maybe overnight, Sunday night into Monday. Want to look at 24-hour precipitation as well. So right now, this is looking from kind of 4 p.m. Thursday to 4 p.m. Friday. We still have some heavy rain moving through the Seattle area. As we go into 4 a.m. Friday through 4 a.m. Saturday, and then 4 p.m. Friday to 4 p.m. Saturday, there's 24-hour time blocks. We can see that the precipitation, the rainfall really, really drops off. And then if we look at this is encountering basically the entire day Saturday into Sunday early morning, there is not a drop of rain anywhere in Western Washington or really anywhere in the state. This continues for the day Sunday and maybe even through early Monday. So, like, you know, it's not many weekends that you could go backpacking in November or during the normal November, but honestly, this looks like kind of an interesting weekend. If you wanted to go out for a day or two, could be a good opportunity. Just be aware that the nights are long this time of year and it will still be cold at night, even if it's relatively warm during the day.
Now we're going to take a look at snowfall. So this is the estimated snowfall over the last 72 hours. You know, a lot of areas got 5, 6 inches of precipitation in the Cascades, but the freezing levels were up around 7,000 feet, especially on the west side and in the Olympics through a lot of that storm. So we really didn't get as much snow as you might think. Probably up on the volcanoes, massive amounts, many feet. And as the snow level has been declining on the backside of the storm, probably, somewhere between 6 to 12 inches through a lot of the central Cascades and eastern Cascades. So that's looking at Rainier in Adams in more detail, it's pretty much off the charts up at the high elevations, 3 feet or something. But, at elevation like Paradise, we probably saw a few inches of rain and then maybe a foot of snow on the back end or something like that. So, expect if you are going out, like you might see like recent wet, loose avalanche activity from the rain on the snow. You might encounter, a rain crust in places, but you also might see some nicer snow on top of it. Now we'll take a look at snow depth. This is estimated snow depth. And you can see that it's like confined really to the higher terrain. So on the west side, there's not even that much of a snowpack, especially below 5K. And in the Olympics, you can see it's only really terrain above about 5,000, 5,500 feet that has any estimated snowpack. As you get to the east side, and especially to the northeast, it's definitely lower snow levels. And, snowpack tends to build a little better in the northeast part of the Cascades early season. But definitely we're still kind of in shoulder season. So, and it's always too early in November to look at snowpack, but as we said before, we're off to a good start. The numbers look inflated because, simply there's not a lot of snow typically at this time of year, but we're seeing stuff like 200, 300% of normal. So we're going to take a closer look at a few specific sites. Harts Pass is in the northeast part of the Cascades. It's actually a relatively dry part of the Cascades, but because it's high elevation, about 6,000 feet and pretty cold, it's been doing very well. And so Harts Pass tends to start building a snowpack earlier than a lot of other places. And typically at this time of year, we only really have like 2 to 3 inches of snow water equivalent. But right now we're at what? 8? Yeah. So 8 inches of snow water equivalent. That's probably a snow depth of at least 2 feet. And, people are already going up there snowmobiling, at Washington Pass. The Methow Trails is grooming a little half mile of like Nordic trails right at the pass. So that part of the state is definitely that and probably the Baker area are the furthest ahead. So this is another snowtail site in the North Cascades, Easy Pass. So it's a little closer to Baker. It's on the northwest side at 5,200 feet, very wet. And right now they're at a snow water equivalent of almost 12 inches. And you can see that over the last few days, we've increased quite a bit in the snow water equivalent, but the snow depth has not increased that much. I mean, especially towards the end there, the snow depth's actually declining a little bit. So what we're probably seeing is water saturating the snowpack. Seeing 12 inches of snow water equivalent, but a snow depth of only 28 inches, that's actually pretty dense springtime snow. That's, 30 to 40% water. And that's definitely not powder. It's definitely consolidated snow. But the bright side is that we didn't lose too much of snowpack above 5,000 feet from this last warmer storm. So we're still, snow water equivalent was still going up through a lot of this period. And hopefully we can get back into our colder period and get some more snowfall. So thanks for watching, and we hope you have a great weekend with this nice November weather.